Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, or maybe even good morning, wherever you're joining us from. It would be great. It's really good to have you join us today for our new series called Data Sheroes. Some of you are part of our Women in Data Science community at Ishango.ai. Some of you may have received a maybe part of our scholarship program, or maybe you came across this event on social media, or you're part of the community at dLab. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Eunice Bagumabo. I'm a co-founder at Ishango, who are hosting this event today, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about what we do. But we have a really good treat for you today. I'm going to be having the first women in data science that we'll be featuring today is Mahadia Tunga, who is the co-founder and director of data science research and capacity development at dLab, which is the Data Lab Tanzania. So I'm really, really excited that we have such a role model joining us, an African woman in data science who's not only doing amazing things in data science, but is also blazing the trail and doing a lot of work around supporting other young people and particularly young women into the data science field. So I'll just start with a very quick introduction about Ishango.ai and who we are. So at Ishango, our goal is to be the bridge between Africa's top talent and global business. So we are a global company. We're based in London, in the UK, where I am, but we have African data scientists spread across Africa, and we also have clients around the world. And our mission really is to create high-skilled jobs in the data science field for talented young people in Africa. So we know that there is a wealth of talent. I'm originally from Uganda, although I've now been living in the UK for the last 10 years. But, in my time, particularly working in the tech space, I came across so many amazing people with skills in technology, people who could really code really well. But some of these people didn't have jobs because we have that unemployment problem in our region. So with Ishango, what we're trying to do is, now that we know that we live in a world that's, digital platforms, I think COVID showed us that you can work from anywhere. There's a lot of remote working. So we are really creating that bridge where we can bring projects from global companies and allow graduates in Africa to work on these projects. We run an 8-week data science fellowship program. So we take select graduates, we place them on projects, and they get to not only develop their technical and professional skills, but they also get to actually get real world experience, because this is a real world project. It's not just a training program. It's actually, they get to deliver these projects. So I'll tell you very quickly about the process, about how we go about this. So first of all, we scope out projects. We talk to international companies who have a project that they want to be done. It could be in different fields in data science, natural language processing, remote sensing, etc. And then we kind of select graduates who meet their needs, who have the technical skills or background to be able to deliver on these projects. So we really carefully match the fellows to the projects. And finally, we support the fellows through skills development, soft skills training, expert sessions. We expose them to different experts to raise their knowledge and skills in data science, and we support them to work on the project. So at the end of the day, it's a learning experience and it's a work experience. And ultimately, we want to see these companies recognize the talent of these fellows and hire them for longer term job opportunities. So lastly, I'll tell you a bit about how you can get involved with Ishango. We have a few ways. If you're an experienced data scientist, you can volunteer as a mentor. If you're a company, you can host a project, become one of our project partners. And if you're an education institution, we can partner with you to bring this opportunity to your students and graduates. So those are some of the ways you can connect with us. And so if any of these, and also if you're interested in becoming a fellow, of course, you can apply as well to become a fellow. So now, without further ado, I'm going to bring to the digital stage Sorry, and these are some of our socials where you can follow us. And also, please do tweet and share any insights that are coming out of this conversation today that you like. But do go on and be a part of our community. You can also sign up to our newsletter on our website to stay involved. So right now, I wanted us to welcome to the digital stage Mahadia Tunga, who is our guest today from the Tanzania Data Lab, who I will be just having a conversation with to hear about her journey into data science and some of the work that they're doing at dLab. So welcome, Mahadia. Mahadia, are you there? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? It seems Mahadia is having a few issues connecting, so just give us a few seconds. Here we go. Could we remove the slide so we can see Mahadia on the screen a bit better? Welcome, Karibu.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So, Mahadia, a lot of our listeners today are part of what we call our Women in Data Science community at Ishango. These are people either they're already in doing STEM or computer science and are interested in expanding into data science. So some of them have started. A few of them have maybe received a scholarship as part of our partnership with DataQuest. And some, again, it could be other people that have just found us online. But really the goal of these chats and our Data Sheroes series is to create role models. We both know the representation of women in data science is still low. And then when we talk specifically about our home continent, Africa, it's even lower. So I think when I came across your profile personally, I was so excited. I thought, wow, not only are you you're a data scientist, but you're leading in the field. You're creating a pathways for other people to get into the field. You're a co-founder and director at Data Lab Tanzania. So I really wanted to first of all start with your personal journey. How did the little girl in Tanzania, growing up, how did you end up doing, you did computer science, masters in computer science, and finally ending up in, working in data science and co-founding a data lab. So tell us a bit about that journey. Oh no, I think we've lost you again.
Hello?
Yes, now we can hear you. You froze for a bit. Oh no. Apologies, all. We're having some connectivity issues, but we hope this will be resolved. At worst case, I guess, Mahadia, if the connectivity is too bad, we might need to turn your camera off, because I think ultimately what we want is the content and the story that you have for us today. So let's just try a few options and see. As we wait for Mahadia to rejoin, I was curious to know where everybody is listening in from. Would you mind typing in your country or city where you're joining from, and if those could be shared on the screen by my colleagues, that would be great. You're back.
Yes, I am.
All
Typical
right, that's when
African
we were
culture.
getting to the good stuff. Right, let's dive in. Did you get all of my question?
Yeah. So my journey started with a role model. A role model, actually, I never met. But then it was always like my brother was telling me about someone who had taken by then electronics and was very successful. And he used to tell me how getting into STEM will ease the pain of finding a job. And as a young girl, so that was my first reaction towards data science. Toward science in general. It's something that it's impactful in a sense that when you study about data science, definitely you'll be able to get a place in the field. So yeah, so that's why I went ahead taking science at high school, and then computer science undergrad, and then masters, and then to now I'm currently actually a student doing a PhD in data science, but I'm almost at the final stage. I'm expecting to complete my PhD January next year. So yeah, so
And did
role
you
model.
find
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely. No, absolutely. And this is exactly why we want to showcase people like you, because there might be somebody listening who one day, 20 years from now, will say, I'm in this field because I listened to Mahadia, speak. But I was going to ask, as you were going through, high school and then university studying the sciences, computer science, how was that? Did you find that you was supported? Did your family, did the teachers, the environment sort of support this ambition of yours, or how was that experience as well?
Okay, so in terms of our supporting, so I did get a support, as just for instance, my brother who was just like trying to inspire me to take career in STEM. So he was the first person who introduced me to the science world. And so that's the role of a role model, actually could really shape how young girls think. And in terms of challenges, there were a few challenges because of African culture. So being in STEM in the African context, that means it's a male dominated field. You're expected to be studying with boys, associated with boys. So sometimes it could be get a bit difficult. I mean, it could get you into a difficult situation, especially at a family level at some point. Because of African culture, so they expect you to be associated with certain people. So that is one of the challenges. Yeah, but then I think it's always when you are given opportunity, when people understand. Yeah, when you're given an opportunity and do it right, people will definitely understand. So yeah.
Amazing. And next, I wanted to sort of ask you about then specifically setting up the dLab. So you followed this path. You studied to the high level. What inspired you to set up dLab, and maybe talk us a little bit about some of the work you're doing there?
Yeah, so actually my journey towards dLab. So after I completed my studies, then I was employed to the telecom, but later to the university. So at the university, they were looking for a female who could code so that they could incorporate them into a project. Then by that time I was the only one coding at the department as a female. So then I got a chance to be part of the project. So the whole journey started from that, right from that project. So I started as I was a assistant lecturer, but I was also a software programmer. I was programming. National human resource software. So after the end of the project, so team members, we decided to bid for another project. So we bid for dLab. It was by then just a project. So when we were successful with the project, we then thought project is something that ends. What should we do as a sustainability vehicle to sustain the impact of the project? That's where it came the idea of establishing an organization. So yeah, so there were 3 parallel projects supported by then it was the US government. And then, so each one from the individual project formed a dLab
Yeah.
NGO. So I was coming from data science and capacity development, and then a colleague from innovation and a colleague from the engagement. We joined up our hands and decided to establish a data lab. So, and then I went ahead also leading the data science and capacity building portfolio for the organization.
Amazing. And so tell us a little bit about what does the dLab actually do? What is the work you're doing? What is the mission, the vision, and particularly obviously given our topic today, some of highlighting focusing on some of the work you're doing supporting young women into the data science field.
So dLab, the main mission of dLab has always and is always about using data as a tool. So for us, data is a tool to make decision. So then, so that's our main mission. Keeping data as a tool to make a decision and not a field that is for a certain people. So our work is around ensuring that data is being used to inform decision. So we work on the innovation side to develop data-driven innovation, data-driven product. We are also working on the side of engaging communities uh, to um, to use data or to translate data into a way that a community can understand. On the other hand, we also work on the data science solutions, but it's all about how can we create impactful data-driven product to solve real-world challenges like health, agriculture, etc. So dLab main mission is around that. So after the first year of establishment of dLab as an aim, I mean, as a project, we realized that only about 30% of our participants were female. And then that's where it was a time where we decided to go back to our own data and analyze why was that, what group was interacting with us and why. And so we conducted this gathering to try to understand what was the reason. So one of the issues we got was some of our programs were were intensive, let's say for 2 weeks. So most women are engaged with other family roles. So that such kind of a program might not be very convenient for them, for instance. Then we decided to establish a Women in Data wing. So actually, by the time I was establishing Women in Data wing, people did not understand, like, are you establishing something to just like train women? Why not incorporating in others? But then it was about that a sense of belonging. At the beginning you need that so that people to realize that data is just a tool that they could use, and it's not something that they should shy away from. So yeah, so that's where so we actually design our program. We now have evening programs, weekend programs. Also, we have half-day programs. So just to accommodate different groups so that they can be able to interact. So that's actually is the background toward Women in Data. And Women in Data did not even start with the data science program. We started with journalists, trying to train journalists on data-driven storytelling so that they can tell when they're talking about, let's say, human rights or issues of women, they should have evidence and not, it's not just something about they feel, but rather it's evident. So we started with yeah, with data-driven storytelling. That was our first program, and then all the way to the data science program.
There's so much in what you said that I love. And, for me, the point you made about data is just a tool, people shouldn't shy away. I think sometimes, all the language around these things, it's like data science, it sounds so complicated. I think even me co-founding Ishango, I mean, I'm not a data scientist, but, I remember sitting in some of the first meetings and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, am I going to understand anything? And actually, what you have is a problem. There is information. Data is just information, and you're trying to make a decision, and when you think about all around us every day, we're always dealing with data, we're always creating data, we're always making decisions, right? So I love that you were saying that part of the work you're doing with the women in data science is demystifying, the field, and saying it's for you. If you need to solve a problem, if you need to make a decision, you can use data. I thought that was really, really, really a really good point. And I think the other thing when you were saying about people asking you about why you need to have a special program for women, that's definitely something that is a topic that comes up, particularly in STEM. And talking about having that safe space, and also tailoring your programming around the roles. We can't ignore the roles, and the home environment and the societal cultural factors that mean that women have certain times and certain responsibilities. And now you're saying like your programs are tailored around evenings or weekends or whatever time that women or other groups as well are able to make. You're able to make that accessible as well. And I think that's just so important. And it's so close to us at Ishanga as well, because ultimately I think our goal is about giving access to opportunity. Somebody should not fail because they didn't have the opportunity, yet they have the skills or they have the talent or have the drive or the interest, right? It shouldn't be that they don't have the opportunity. So that was really, really nice to hear you talk about your work. Um, I guess one of the things that I wanted to also maybe to add a bit more texture to some of what you said about the work, it would be really cool to sort of understand what are some of the ways you're seeing data, you're seeing people in your community using the tools that they're developing. You talked about data being used for health, for education. Do you have any examples that you can just give us a bit of a flavor to really bring it to life, how data is being used to solve problems in the dLab community?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll start with my own work, for instance. So, for instance, at my PhD, I worked on developing an AI tool to predict what uh, what somebody died with. So it turns out in the developing world, is 70% of people are dying out of hospital. And one of the reasons being they cannot afford hospital charges. So if you have disease at the late stage care, the caretaker will or family member will decide to take to just have you at home so that it's easy to take care of you. So when that somebody dies, the government do not have a data they died of what. So that's it turns out. In worldwide, it's about 50% of people die at home. And so whenever we talk about statistics of malaria, of etc., we are only talking about the percentage of people who died in the hospital. So that means the data is biased in that sense. So yeah, so at my PhD, I developed a prediction tool where it is used for the people who died at home. So you ask them the symptoms and signs leading to death, and then from those symptoms, then you predict likely a person might die of what disease. So this is helpful in the healthcare interventions, because otherwise we'll just be talking with the data which is more biased, because those who are dying at hospital, they are from the cities. So we are working with statistics from the city, while 70% of people live in the rural area. So yeah, so that was my that was the work, and it can show you how data science can be impactful. And part of that, I mean, actually results from part of the results of that work have been featured in this year, the national report on the mortality statistics. Yeah. So yeah, so that is one example, for instance, from health side. But then we are talking about climate changes, right? So if we are talking about climate changes, we need to prepare with the few resources that we have, especially at African context. So for us to prepare, we need to predict the future. How will the future look like? So that we cannot have these unplanned. I don't know if in Uganda you have these, but electricity rationing, water rationing, etc. And you just hear from the news like tomorrow, if you're lucky, you hear. But if you're you had to just wake up in the morning, no power. So such kind of stuff. So we need data-driven tools so that they can inform our policies. It can inform government so that they can prepare ahead of time. Citizens can be given heads up so that they can plan accordingly. Yeah, maybe I end at that point because I like talking a lot about.
No, it was really, really good. And I think just hearing you speak, it really highlights the importance of us having more data practitioners in Africa, because I think a lot of the time, and I was talking about this with a colleague, many a times we're using maybe tools or things or algorithms or AI that have been developed elsewhere, and yet we have very unique conditions. So when you were talking about your PhD research, that is not the case, for example, in the UK where I am, that 50% of people are dying at home. It's very, very unique to our context, and only somebody who's experienced that and lived that and has now the skills can develop the tool that you have. So the idea that all of these solutions, tools could be out there waiting for people to have those skills and those tools to be able to to develop things that can sort of help us solve our problems is really, really, really powerful. And I think for us at Ishango, it's kind of what we are, that's at our very core. Right now our main focus is around creating jobs and giving them access to opportunities with international companies. But ultimately, what we're seeing is we're building those skills locally. And I think, the fact that remote working is very core to what we do. We never want to be part of brain drain, right? So we are saying you can work from anywhere, build your skills, learn, but then you're at home and you're able to give back. You're able to then develop local tools. Some of our fellows have gone on, one of our fellows has gone on, she's now doing a PhD, again similar to you, looking at healthcare and AI, and she worked with an international company through us for a year and really, really developed her skills to a level that allowed her to get that next opportunity. So we really see ourselves as building data science, being a part of, and I guess this is why we have this partnership, and we hope we'll do more things that even beyond this event together, because we feel like we are part of the same puzzle of how do we build more data science capacity so that we can see more solutions like the ones you're describing coming to life. But before, so I guess bringing back to the core of what we of the event today, which is to inspire, to highlight, to showcase role models, but really to inspire people who may be at the beginning of the path or haven't thought about it, or who are there and are facing challenges, are thinking maybe this is not for me. I guess my last question before we open up for comments is, what is your advice to those people out there who might be thinking about, they've heard about this data science thing, they're not sure, or they're trying to go on that path, but they're not sure if it's for them or if there will be opportunities. What's your word of encouragement for these aspiring young women and young men as well in Africa that are interested in data science?
I feel like being in a data science in the 21st century is a safe space in a sense that not only that is part of the high ranked 21st century skills, but also you are being part of the decision making, because all these AI products, when you're talking about fourth industrial revolution, when you're talking about AI products, they're they are being developed by humans. So actually, humans have influence to those tools. So getting an opportunity to be part of the in the data science field, you have that an opportunity to impact people's life. It could be in health, agriculture, etc., and it gives you an opportunity to solve pertinent challenges in the continent and worldwide as well. But also a piece of advice for those who are just beginning their career is that everything anything is possible when you decide to do it. It's all tech for you to decide to do it. Once you decide to do it and you say that, because there's that thing that this is my plan A, I'll start. My plan A is being a data scientist. My plan B is so when you have a plan A and plan B, you start weighing out or something like that. But yeah, if you have a passion and you have an environment where you have skills, and the thing is about data science, you can sit right in Africa and access all data science courses elsewhere. So access to resources is not a challenge in terms of for you to learn. There's a lot of conducive environment to learn. Yeah, so I think it's if you are thinking about it, I feel like it's the right field and you're in the right place.
Amazing. So, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed hearing about your journey, hearing about your work, and those final words of inspiration. I really feel. I mean, I think it. I feel I'm in the data science space somehow as a supporter. I don't think
Definitely you are.
Python coding is not. I don't think is my calling right now. But there might be some, people who that is your calling, and I highly encourage you to pursue that. We definitely see what you were saying, Mahadia, that it's such a marketable field. Everyone is going data driven. It makes companies much more effective. It helps them save money. It helps them plan better. So, and I read a piece of research that said that companies that are at the top, sort of 5% of in using data to make their decisions are actually something like 25-30% more profitable because of it, because you get to save costs, you get to understand where the better prospects are. So business is moving in that direction. I feel like even though slowly, public sector and also the social sector is following along, because resources are getting scarce. It's all about how do we, like you were saying, how do we make sure we are spending the right amount or having the right tools to fight diseases or malaria? We need to build a tool to understand what is causing the death. So I think that all fields, whichever field you want to go in, data is becoming a key part. Even if you think about entertainment, all of it is data. So 100% is definitely the place to be.
And just one thing, and for the data company that are led by women who have women in senior roles, they're said to have to be twice efficient than
Wow,
those that aren't balanced. So it's a call also for more women to join in the field. Because it's not
absolutely.
about gender balance, but it's also about cost
Business
saving
case,
when you have
yeah.
women.
There's a clear business case, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to definitely find that if you can share the link to that, because that's definitely
Yeah, sure,
one,
sure.
adding into my arsenal of statistics to quote. I love that one. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the audience for Mahadia, or anyone who is curious? So Nde is asking, what advice can you give to a new woman in data science? You kind of covered that, but let's speak to Nde. Just
For a new woman in data science, so seeing me is one of the things that you see it's possible. because I actually studied in Africa right to my PhD level, but I was able to access online resources, and I did a lot of online resources, online courses. So for a woman, a new woman, for me, as a mother of three children, I actually started my PhD at the time of COVID, March 2020. It's a time that I started my PhD. I was at home with actually a new baby who was about 6 months or something, but I was actually able to develop my proposal, and now I'm going to complete just on time. So with the something with the data science in this tech field, you are actually able to work at home with your computer and have your family and take care of other things, which is not likely to other field. So yeah, I enjoy working in a tech space, but I also feel like for a woman, we have a lot to benefit working in the tech industry.
Wow, and we've discovered you're even more of a superwoman than we thought now from that story. That's amazing. Starting a PhD with a 6 months old. Hats off to you. Celestine is asking about the tool that is used. Who is responsible for asking questions for the family who lost the person? If I get a sense from this, it's also a question. I think there's also a question about data ethics within this. So maybe answer Celestine's question, but also talk about the process of collecting data, who owns data, who gives data, because I think that's a very, very important discussion within the data sciences and data field.
Um, First, one of the things that there is one of the article in one of our previous projects called Data Set to Our Data, where we normally say that we borrow data from people, and we, even if you collect data you don't own, we just borrow. So we have responsibility of also, when something that you have borrowed is not your own, so you have to protect it. Because so either way, so when it comes to the data ethics, first, as a data scientist, it's always important to ensure that you are there to ethics. For instance, when I'm working in the healthcare, so with the healthcare, you need to get ethical clearance and design a protocol that is going to be approved by ethical bodies, so that you are able to get access to the data from the ministry. And for the case of the project that I'm working, which is very sensitive, so for this particular project, I don't collect data. So actually, the government is the one that collects, because it's the one that conducts surveys from the field, and those who are like caretaker, the family members, are the ones who actually are being interviewed by a community healthcare worker who is the government employee. So that data is anonymized, and then we are given access to it while it's already anonymized. So that is always the case when you are using data of people. We preach on the open data and openness, but it's important to ensure that whenever we work on the sensitive data, we anonymize it as much as possible, so that we also need to get trust from the people. People can only get trust if they see more of impact than a damage to the community. For instance, it's not for me to say, oh, that person died with a malaria. Malaria it's not a bad disease, but anyway, just that creates something that creates you lose trust from the community. So it has to be starting from a person as personal ethics, but this is not a platform for me to say this. But most importantly, we need to have proper regulatory authorities, proper legal frameworks, so that, because sometimes culture is being induced to people. So once people start adhere to certain policies, certain laws, they get used and become a culture. But at this stage, I will just say it has to be something that we always carry it on our minds, that data is something that we borrow from people. And whenever you borrow something from someone, that means it's not yours. So you need to protect it.
Yeah, I think it's a really important aspect of, and it always almost inevitably comes up in any conversation when we talk about data and data science, around responsible data, responsible AI, data ethics. But one of the things it also highlights is, as we talk about data, that all the roles around it, there's going to be legal practitioners, regulatory practitioners, policy practitioners who are specialists in understanding all the issues around this. So there's even more scope to work in the data field than, specifically being that person building the AI tool. But also exactly when you highlighted the protocols, the responsibilities we have as people when you go into this space to work with data. That's something also at Ishango we have, like, so many sessions. I'm sure our fellows find them boring, around data security, data protection, data ethics. We really, really drum it into them. Like you said, it's not your data. You have to really, really treat it like, you would with something very, very, very sensitive and very, yeah, belonging to somebody else. So thank you so much for highlighting that. So all future data scientists, yes, please know that that's part of your responsibility. Karen has a question. What are some of the challenges that you face as a data scientist?
So
We'll ask
challenges that
Karen's question first, if we could have that on the screen, and then we'll have Celestine's next question.
So, okay, so challenge that I face as a data scientist, and this is what I want also to encourage as women, is not, they're not gender related at all. So that's a good news for women. So challenge that we face, especially in the African context, is the data, access to data. It took me a year to get access to the data set because it was a sensitive data set, but I also feel the process is a bit bureaucratic. And I was doing, I think, a right topic at a wrong time. It was during COVID. So everyone was thinking is that I want to investigate to what extent the country has been affected by COVID, while it was just so that was the challenge. So in African contexts, we don't have a culture of sharing. So that is just one part of it, but that is the main. And we don't have proper legal frameworks. Most countries don't have data protection act. Even for Tanzania, we just have a draft now. Hopefully by next year we'll have a data protection act, but most country Africa, they don't have data protection act. So that is one challenges we face as data scientists. Get access to the data. We want to develop pertinent solutions for pertinent challenges that are faced our continent. But then, if we don't get access to the data set, we cannot be able to develop tools that contextualized. So that's is the biggest challenge. It's the biggest challenge for the data scientists in Africa. Yeah, getting access to data, to
Yeah.
real data.
Yeah. I mean, our projects are with different companies, different parts of the world, and it's always also the challenge. So it's no, I mean, I know we have our very specific, bureaucratic or cultural, or people not even understanding exactly what you're trying to do. Other, the barriers may be different, but I find that the struggle around access to data when it comes to data science projects is almost universal, because usually, even in businesses, somehow the stakeholder who has the data or is supposed to give the data may not be in the data science department. They don't really have the buy-in. So I think as a data scientist, that's something we always tell our data scientists, that you're going to have to be very good at selling the big picture, telling people what is this thing going to do. It's not just about learning to code and being very good at coding. You're going to have to be a very good communicator. You're going to have to really be a good team player. Data science is a team sport from what we can see, because you're never going to be the one person like seeing everything, seeing every gap, seeing every loophole, bringing in different people to get the buy-in to the vision of what you're trying to build. So absolutely, what you highlighted there, Mahadia, around access to data is definitely a challenge that we hear from data scientists, and we certainly see in our projects at Ishango as well. I think there was another question from Celeste as well. What are the challenges you met while setting up the dLab? Did you meet any challenges?
Interesting question. So dLab started right after. So right after dLab started, Tanzania withdrew from Open Government Partnership. We call it OGP, and it was a new regime. So one of the things we faced as a challenge is you are starting a data company at the time where the whole idea of data seems to be very scary. So there are a lot of challenges at the beginning, because now you need to convince people that you are not there to act against them, but rather you're establishing something that is going to help them. So that is what we worked around the first years. Try to work a lot on data-driven stories to show the impact that the data can make, and try to forge partnership with the government so that they are able to understand that data in data companies as are resources that they could tap in. For instance, we worked with the National Bureau of Statistics in collaboration with Paris 21 to do national gap assessment to show the government to what extent the data they collect can report to Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG. And by then, we realized it's less than 30% of the data that was being collected by the National Bureau of Statistics can actually be able to track Sustainable Development Goals. So it was a wake-up call for them. So yeah, so that is also some aspect that, or some skill that you will need to have as a data scientist. You will need to be able to communicate well your work, and you'll be able to demonstrate the impact. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I think this is going to have to be the last one because we are over time. Josephine says, I'm a mathematics lecturer and working towards becoming an expert in data science. I have skills in R and some Python, but I need some practical leap into data science. How do I get into the actual work?
Mm-hmm.
So I could say one of the ways is to apply to the Ishango Data Science Fellowship, especially if you have the basics on the coding. We don't teach the coding. So if you already have that, with our fellowship, we'll give you opportunity to straight away work on a project. But it's not just us. There's lots of other places online. And Mahadia, you can maybe, you probably know this a bit better, where you can go and be a part of, groups that are solving real problems online, right? So over to you, Mahadia. You probably know this better than I do.
The answer is a bit tricky. I agree, completely agree. If you get opportunity like Ishango, is something that you should run away from with, because yeah. So while there are a lot of resources that you can access in data science, but also to become a real data scientist, you also need to get hold to the real data challenges. So opportunity like Ishango, where you can work with the industry, where they actually have the actual problems, where you can put on your skills, that is the best opportunity for you. I have done a lot of online courses. I cannot mention. I've done a lot of courses online. They help you a lot with the basic skills. And at the beginning, that's what you need, the basic skills. But to transition from a basic data scientist to intermediate or advanced, you need to work with the real world challenges, because that's where you need to have, you also be able to learn other additional skills that are important. And you also have to also learn on also working in a team, as Eunice said. A data science field is not something that you work as a data engineer alone or a data scientist alone. You also will get skills to work with other people in the field. Yeah, but the most important thing is for you to find opportunity to be exposed to the real world environment. That will help you a lot advance your data science skills. So Ishango is one of the places. dLab we have, but we don't have online currently. Looking forward to work with Ishango. But yeah, so whenever you get some sort of such kind of fellowship, so in addition to the courses, to the data science courses, you need to get access to fellowship so that you work with a real world environment, mentor in a team so that you can advance. And if you are not able to access all that, you can start actually even volunteer with a company where you can start working with their data. It's not easy to get a trust, but then yeah, the most important thing is you to be exposed as much as possible to the real world.
Yeah. There are a few, I mean, I completely agree that, having that real world experience is obviously, is 100% the key. And that's why we were trying to offer this. There is also opportunities I've seen, and I don't know what you think about these platforms where they get problems, real problems from companies, and then they bring different data scientists or data science, you know, who are developing their data science skills to come together online to solve them. So I've seen a few. I think in Africa there's Zindi, so it's worth checking out. Look up Zindi, Zindi. There is Omdena as well, for example. But basically, they get, sometimes it's sustainable development goal challenges, or sometimes it's a challenge sponsored by an organization. And what you can do is you get part of virtual teams to start to kind of develop a solution together. And I think you do something similar offline at dLab, right? But you do it in an offline
Yeah,
environment, right?
yeah, offline. So Zindi is definitely a case, and I think one of our data scientists is a Zindi ambassador. So time to time we run Zindi hackathon. I think it's definitely something to check out, and also Cargo, though it's a worldwide. You might find African challenges or any other challenge. So at the beginning, I think when you're exposed to anything is important. So you just need to get that experience. So the
Yeah.
hackathon definitely has something to go. So Zindi is the best place. Cargo is the best place, but also some of the universities also are offering some of these resources. Yeah,
Yeah. And I'll just say that for us, I mean, at Ishango, where
I think
we
one
don't
more
take we don't take
Stanford they also
sorry?
do. So
Sorry?
I just wanted to add more. Stanford they also do the
Okay.
hackathon. Mhm.
Yeah.
So you can also check out on that as well. And also Google, they run challenges also as well.
Yeah. And Google will give you this, obviously they have a lot of data, like the maps data and stuff. So really cool challenges. But I was going to say that for us at Ishango, one of the things we look at when we're recruiting fellows is that you've gone and done that, right? So we want to see proactive people. You've gone out, you've looked, you say, I participated in this challenge. I did this on this platform as part of a team that built a tool. It's not that we understand that it's not always easy to get a real company to work with and get real experience, but we definitely want to see that you've done those online courses, but you've also gone on and done projects with people, or even as an individual or personally, So please do go on and do that. They do give you practical experience. Some of them actually have real data from real organizations that have given. Obviously, it wouldn't be sensitive. It would either be anonymized or it's openly available data. But it just gives you the experience of working on a real problem. It also gives you the experience of working in a team, and particularly a team, with people around the world. So I think those are definitely good shouts. So thank you, Mahadia, for sharing those. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I don't know if there was any other questions. It felt like we thank you so much for the great engagement. Mahadia, thank you for sharing your journey with us, giving us those words of advice, pointing us to those resources. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm really excited that you were the first of this series, because I think you are just a great, 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 great role model of what we can achieve. I love when you are highlighting the fact that you're fully, studied and done all your education in Africa, and now you're sort of soaring on a global stage. It's really, really, really encouraging, and I think it's really you're such a great role model for somebody. Saying last question. We have literally 1 minute. I was trying to say bye. All right, go on. Is it really one last question? What soft skills would you advise a data scientist to develop early in their career? We kind of touched on this. Said communication. Do you have any others? We said communication, 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 teamwork.
Communication is the best skills that communication is something you need to have. You need to have for people to understand your work, but also to sell your work.
Yeah,
Because people to be able to understand whatever you have done, you need to be able to explain it in a language that they understand, not a technical language, so that they can get trust of whatever tool you have built. So that is one, but also for you to be able to um, uh, showcase your impact, you also need to master communication skills. But as Eunice said, data science, data science is a teamwork. So if it's a teamwork, so working in a team should be a skill that you master. Working in a team, that is quite important, because you will always need to have project with deadline. You need a person to work on cleaning the data. You need someone to work on this. You need someone to lobby so that you can get access to the data. So you need multiple competences, but you also, most importantly, you need somebody who masters a domain, because today you are working on health, other day you'll be working in finance. So you need to work with people from different fields. So you definitely need to master working in a team. So yeah, so those are the key skills in terms of the soft
soft
skills.
skills. Fantastic. And we are exactly on time now. So thank you so much, Beverly, for that final question. Please visit dlab.org.tz to learn more about dLab's work. Please visit ishango.ai. We're on all the social media on our website to learn more about our fellowship and our work. From all of us, thank you so much, Mahadia. And everyone listening, please stay in touch with us. We'll be running this series, so look out for who will be hosting next. So thank you all for your time, and enjoy the rest of your days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and wish you all good luck in your career. Bye.